Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Monday morning. I hope everybody had a really good weekend. And I am joined today by Sonia. I didn't even ask you how to pronounce your last name.
Kavanagh.
Kavanagh. That's it. Okay.
Kavanagh.
Thank you. And you can probably tell we are wearing matching shirts. And that was not intentional, but I think it adds a nice little touch. So just before we get going, I'll just cover a couple of housekeeping things just as a reminder for you guys who are going to be watching. There is a bit of a lag between us speaking and you getting it on Facebook. So sometimes if we ask, have you got any questions, there's going to be a little bit of a lag before your questions pop up. If you do put a question on there, can you add your name for me? Because BeLive doesn't sort of tell me who you are unless you've got a BeLive account. So if you could just say, hey, Penny here. I'll have a question and then off you go. I will have a periodical look on my phone to see if there's any that I'm missing. But apart from that, we will get going. All right. So welcome, Sonia. Thank you so much for being willing to take some time out of your day to join us this morning.
Thank you, Penny. It's a pleasure. And thank you for inviting me.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So
glad to be here.
Tell me a little bit about, who you are, where you are, and what you do as a counsellor.
Okay, so I live on the Central Coast in New South Wales and been married for, 33 years or something like that, and 2 adult children. One's about to have a baby in February, and my first grandchild coming up. And yeah, so I started counselling probably about 5 years ago and quickly got into the NDIS space, kind of fell into it really. But however, my background has always been in community aged care work and disability support work. So it was not an unfamiliar space for me to go into, but apart from that, just building my private practice like all counsellors do, just trying to not give up, keep going. And just loving what I do, just loving being able to provide that safe space and for people to find emotional healing and support. So just absolutely love what I do. And also, my church background has been largely in pastoral care work as well, and supporting people emotionally and practically in all sorts of ways. And I've loved that season of my life as well.
Awesome. All right. So I've just noticed that on my end, you've got a lovely shade of green sort of over the screen. Can you see that on your screen, Sonia? A
shade of green?
Yeah. Is it coming through your end? Because it doesn't seem to be coming through on Facebook. So I was just checking that. There seems to be a green haze over your screen. Now it's gone. Okay, that's good. I was just making sure you weren't coming through like the whole
let me know if I need to
all over on Facebook. That's good. No, you're not. That's good. I'm just watching as we do it. All right. So, So the purpose today is just to talk a little bit, I guess, about the NDIS. Sorry, my phone's falling off the thing at the same time. I guess today I'd like to sort of just talk some people through the basics, of if they're interested in what this NDIS is, because a lot of people may not even know, much about it at all, except that it services people under the National Disability Scheme. And so if people were interested in tapping into becoming a provider for the NDIS and adding that to their business, I guess, how did you go about doing that, and sort of what I guess could you sort of tell people today about that process?
Sure. Well, I started before the audit process came in. So I just went online and applied to become a provider. And I got stuck at one point, so I just left it. I thought, this is too hard. And then someone from the NDIA actually called me and said, hey, I noticed you've started an application. Have you, do you need help? And I said, well, yes, I do. And so they helped me at that stage. And I think that gave me a little bit of trust in the scheme and the agency that they were there to help me. And after that, I just had a flyer and I put on that I was a provider, and I dropped it off to one organisation, a support coordinator there, and for some reason he just kind of liked me and he just started giving me referrals. But I remember when I was starting to build my private practice, I could actually see myself going into people's homes and counselling. And like I said before, it wasn't an unfamiliar space for me to do that. And so it kind of developed from there, grew from there. That one organisation gave me ongoing work. And then I developed relationships with other organisations and support coordinators, and yeah, just really expanded and grown from there. And of course, last year I had to go through the audit process, and that was a bit daunting, but again, I was able to get some help and support with that through the NDIS. Plus, I hired a NDIS consultant that helped me put the policies together. And yes, so it's been definitely a process. It's but I just kind of chipped away at it bit by bit as I could. Yes, I did get frustrated and felt like giving up at times, but I just knew that doing this would just be a really good fit for me as a counsellor and my approach, and that I could just get to help some of the most vulnerable people in our community, for them to feel safe and supported, and really become part of their support network in a significant way. And yeah, so it's just been a great referral source for me. And then with the expansion, I felt like, I just not sure if I can do all this on my own. So I started looking into subcontracting. So I've now got 4 subcontractor counsellors that I just really trust, and they're a wonderful team that help me out with a lot of the mobile counselling. And yeah, it's just been wonderful to see that we can just help so many more people by doing that.
So it sounds like it's been quite successful for you getting into the NDIS space, and it's worked well for you because you've got a background in, now was it aged care or disability?
Yeah, both, mostly aged care. But what I loved about that job, I didn't really like the cleaning and all that, but I loved actually sitting with people and having a cup of tea and hearing their stories. And yeah, so I loved the relational side of that job. And the NDIS counselling is very similar in that you are really focusing on building that rapport and that relationship that can go on. I've been seeing some participants for up to 3 years now as an ongoing support base for them. Sometimes it's monthly, sometimes fortnightly, and just whatever they need. But it's just nice for them to know that they can include me in their NDIS plan. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess what I'm picking up there is that the clinical aspect of counselling may not come into it as much as what it may do in a normal clinical practice. So there's a lot more relationship building and building that rapport with the clients to be a support in their life.
It is a big part of it. However, because NDIS is also goal focused, so participants will have certain goals that they want to achieve in counselling. Usually when you ask them, they say, I just want someone to talk to. So, but, because you are working within the system, there may be support coordinators that call you and say, hey, this person is experiencing grief and not knowing how to process that. So, yeah, absolutely. The clinical side is there, but you just may need to adjust it according to the person in front of you, which is what we do anyway as counsellors. We have that eclectic kind of approach where we just use different things that we think might help that person, but assessing the person's capacity to be able to process, especially cognitive type therapies, and maybe just adjusting that in a softer approach that will, they can get the benefit from that, rather than being a hard and fast CBT therapist. You just really need to take a different approach. And yes, so it can be very clinical, absolutely, but of course the NDIS is all about choice and control for the participant, so they always need to be checking with them. Would you like to try this type of therapy? Would you like to try this relaxation exercise? So you're always giving them that choice and control over, what they feel is best for them. And I guess that's the person-centered, client-directed kind of approach, where you're just taking into consideration what's best for them, or what they know is best for them as well. And with that, you do build that rapport and that safety through that, and that trust that, and some participants have had bad experiences with psychologists and counsellors, just because maybe they've taken that more rigid approach with them. So it's so important that as an NDIS counsellor that you are creating that sense of safety and a calming environment for them, where they just feel really supported, safe. And then out of that, of course, they share, some of those deeper things that have been going on for them, and that's what I love about it. And just to see, get feedback even from their carers or support coordinators or support workers that, hey, I really noticed a difference in such and such, and they're more assertive, or they're more outgoing, or they're speaking up a lot more. Because when you think about it, that the whole talk therapy is a great way to build confidence and assertiveness in someone that may have some barriers and social anxiety. So you're really probably doing a lot more than you think you are for them, even by not being, too rigid in your approach with therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that sounds like the stuff we all get trained in. To be that, allow those clients to have the control over their own therapy process. And I think that's really important. And the NDIS is big on that, isn't it? Choice and control, which is why it was taken away from, the institutions per se and the agencies to sort of tell people what they can and cannot have given to them in the way of provision of services and things like that. So would you say that it's a difficult, if right now, if someone wanted to go and sort of look into becoming an NDIS provider, where would you suggest they start? Because it can be a little bit of a tricky process to kind of, it's a bit like a needle in a haystack to begin with, I kind of think. So what would your recommendations be if someone sort of goes, oh, I'm really interested in that, I might have a background in disability or aged care. And I guess, you don't actually have to have background in disability and aged care, because there's lots of people who are on the NDIS for mental health reasons as well.
Yes.
Also young people that are on the NDIS. And so if you've got experience in childhood education, working with young people, there's all different types of areas that you can get provision for in the NDIS. So where would you say would be a good place to start, Sonia?
Well, I guess the first thing to do would be to go on and fill out the online application form on the website. And even with that, they give you hints of what to put in there. So, and really from the start, you're just showing that you understand some of the policies and, requirements and the code of conduct and all of that. And so again, the NDIA actually helped me with that process of applying initially. And then you need to engage with an auditor. So this is for a registered provider. You need to engage with an auditor, and you can definitely send out expression of interest to different auditors and get a quote. For me, it cost around the $1,000 mark to get pay for an auditor, and it was all desktop, so it was they don't come and look through your client files or anything like that. It's a very low risk registration that we apply for, verification only. So all the auditor wants to see is that you have your qualifications, your association membership, your insurance, you're working with children's check, a little bit like applying for a job, and that you've got some policies in place for incidents, hazard, even in-home hazard check and things like that are relatable to what we do. And we are low risk, so it's a simple process, but a very heady process. You just kind of just got to work through the mental side of it and ask questions when you need to. I also hired an NDIS consultant, actually down in Adelaide, and she helped me put together some policies that related to me as a counsellor in my business. So I guess, but the benefits of working in NDI space, again, is just that ongoing, regular, and I would almost say almost secure income in a way, because you are putting together agreements and contracts with participants so they can have, ongoing, even the whole length of their yearly plan. And of course they can cancel at any time, and that's their right to do that as any client. But yeah, if you're someone that likes a little bit of security in work, it's great, because like even my subcontractors, I'll contract them, 10, say, fortnightly sessions. So that's 4 months worth of counselling work coming up for them. And you don't often get that in private practice. You're lucky to get someone to come for more than 3 or 4 times, and and then you got to have a constant turnover. And while sometimes, I guess, the downside of the NDIS on onboarding participants is that lag in between them finishing up their plan and getting reviewed for the next plan. So I've just had to learn to work with that and be patient and just follow up with their coordinator and say, how's such and such going, and just being a little bit proactive there to make sure that, you just know what's going on, I guess. But so the process absolutely is daunting, but you can make it simple for yourself by just getting the help that you need. And
so I think people that may not be policy minded type people, not everyone. I think I did a thing a few weeks ago on policies. Some people love them and some people run from the room screaming at the mention of the word policy. So there's definitely people out there in each state that can help in regard to putting together packages of policies to suit your individual needs.
Yeah, and there are templates that you can download, and you can create your own policies. And if you're that way inclined, go for it, I say. Yeah.
And so really just having a look around for NDIS consultants, or ACA have the ability to tap into a organisation called Emergent. And you can, I think ACA members get it for half price. So they get it for $500 for the year, and it's designed specifically for counsellors. So all the templates I believe that they have are designed specifically for counsellors. You just got to download them and delete the bits that don't, appropriate to you, insert your details and do all those sorts of things, and that helps you get ready for the process. Now, I just thought we might just sort of clarify maybe some of the lingo, because the NDIS lingo is quite different to what we're used to talking about, isn't it? Kind of got to get your head around it. So a participant is a client, isn't it? So a participant is someone who is registered with the NDIS as a participant and gets NDIS funding for whatever their issue or concern is. That's isn't it? A provider is someone like yourself who's been either registered with the NDIS and provides a service to participants in the NDIS. Is that correct? Yep. Support coordinators, you've mentioned them a few times. Can you just explain what a support coordinator is?
Oh, okay. Support coordinators are your best friend They're my best friends because their job is to make sure participants get to use their funding for what they want or what they need. So, and you've probably heard that sometimes if the participants aren't utilising the funding that they've been given, the next plan can come around, and that part of that can be taken away from them. So they can actually end up with less funding in the next round. So it is really an important job for support coordinators that they, try and access the different providers and services out there that can help, their participants have a better quality of life or whatever they need. Yeah, so they usually are, some work independently and some work as part of an agency, like, I don't know, you probably have them down in Adelaide. But so, yeah, and if you can build a really good relationship with support coordinators, they will just, if they like you, like your approach, and they will absolutely just give you ongoing work, referrals.
How do you find the support coordinators, Sonia? Where do you find them?
Well, they're everywhere. They are inside those organisations, like Breakthrough or there's a million of them out there, really. It's just about you can actually ring up and ask to speak to one, organise a meet and greet, just let them know what you do, what you're passionate about, and this is me. If you need me, I'd love to see some of your participants if they need any support. So a good place to start is just to go around, do a little bit of door knocking, a little bit of over the phone contact, just let them know, hey, I'm here. I'm either registered or unregistered, but just want to be able to offer my services as a counsellor.
So you mentioned names like Breakaway. Is that like the
Breakthrough?
Breakthrough, sorry. I know, I think in South, they're different everywhere, aren't they? Like different organisations have different contracts, don't they, for the different areas?
Yeah, so you can Google disability organisations in your area and, there'll be a whole list.
Technical term for them, is that a LAC? Is that what they are? Are you familiar with that?
No, they're different. So they're a local area coordinator. So they help to govern the NDIS, the scheme, to make sure that it's, just being outworked the way it should be outworked. So, but they also do support coordination as well.
Okay. So quite a few different terms, isn't there, to sort of get your head around?
Yes.
Yeah. So a little bit.
They probably have a little bit more power than a support coordinator in one of your, community organisations. Yeah. So they can, they can just pull a service if they don't think it's the right thing for them, and that's happened to me, and I haven't been very happy about that. But at the same time, it's great to know that they are there governing everything and making sure participants are getting the right support. And sometimes, to be honest, another kind of support could be what they need more than what I can provide. And that's where, we just got to be able to let go and enable the participant to have that choice to move to a different service or, a different type of therapy, which is totally fine. Yeah.
All right. So just in the last, 5 minutes or so from a financial perspective, I guess this is, if people are running a business and they want to make an income, they're going to want to know, sort of, and I'm not expecting you to divulge your income or anything like that, but from an NDIS perspective, is it financially worth it to sort of take the time to, possibly hire an NDIS consultant if people don't feel they can do it themselves, pay possibly $1,000 to get the desktop audit done, get themselves set up? What do NDIS generally pay, and is it kind of worth it in the long run for someone to sort of step into this area if they feel kind of passionate about it?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I think you can charge up to $170 on a new plan per hour. You don't have to charge that much. You can keep it around your normal fee, or you can also add in travel to help compensate some of your time more so, and in travelling. But for me, because I'd already been seeing some participants, I could justify paying that amount for an auditor, because I thought, well, I know how much money's coming in for me. Yes, I can allocate some of that towards an auditor. But some companies, you could actually do a pay by the month thing. I think I could have used a company like Emergent and just paid, I don't know, $50 a month or something.
Okay.
So that would help to get started. Yes, I think last financial year, the NDIS space accounted for about up to 70% of my income. Yeah, and so it has been a big part of my income. And I think it's like anything, it just takes time to build and grow. And I think if you're a community-minded person and you like to be out there in the community, if you like the idea of being part of a support network for someone, if you like to collaborate with different people in the community, it's a great thing to do. And you know, we're helping some of the most overlooked people in our society, and you know, we underestimate the power of just being present with someone that maybe, and they get a lot of support really, especially these days. But even within that support, they don't always have someone that they can just sit and talk to about things that are bothering them. And I think it's just a really special area to get into, and I'm really passionate about it, as you can probably notice. But you know, I also love seeing my private clients and my couples and all of that. And yeah, it's just a lovely way to do counselling, I think. But you do have to be very flexible in how you do that. And be willing to be flexible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it sounds. You know, I guess if people have got a passion in and are listening to this kind of thinking, you know, that's something I could really feel passionate about. I think, you know, you've given some really good tips on where to start. You'll have to excuse my dog is going nuts. So if you can hear that, I do apologise. She's obviously seen a cat or something across the road and is now going bananas. So I'm just looking to see if we've got any questions, and we haven't got any questions at the moment. If anyone's got any questions for Sonia, look, feel free to put the questions underneath the video in the group. And, you know, perhaps Sonia later, if you want to come back and just have a bit of a check.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know everything, but I'll try my best to help.
I'll watch the play. So you may get some comments and questions later.
Okay. Yeah.
From the play. Was there anything else that you wanted to add that you felt was sort of, you know, important to know?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good option for a counsellor, and especially because you can do the unregistered avenue, and yeah, it's just really about building those relationships that will help you get the work. Just putting yourself out there a bit to let people know what you do, and so if you feel like it might be the right fit for you, I'd say go for it.
Yeah,
you don't have to be registered, but you can still make an impact out there in the community.
And I think that's an important thing to note, is you don't have to be registered to see some NDIS clients.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, it's probably helpful for viewers to know. And look, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know a huge amount about the NDIS, only what I've researched myself. But there's 3 levels to the NDIS, isn't there? There's NDIS managed clients, and they're the ones that you have to be registered for, and you can't access them unless you're a registered provider.
Yes.
And then you get paid directly by NDIS to see them. You put your invoice into the portal and you get the money transferred directly to you as one of the participants provided.
Yeah, overnight usually.
Yeah. The second level is plan managed. So the participants are managed by a plan manager. And as not a registered provider, just as a regular counsellor, you can access these clients. I've actually got one at the moment that I'm working with.
Yep.
And you submit an invoice to their plan manager, whoever that might be. And like you said, I think it took, once they worked out my invoice and got me in the system, I think it was about 2 weeks the first time to get paid. But now I get paid generally between 4 to 6 days, generally, depending how busy they are, I guess. And then the third level is they're self-managed, aren't they? Where they manage their own funds, and then that, and you can access that level as well.
Yeah. So just invoicing directly to the participant. And
So the top level you need to be definitely a provider for. The other two, you can sort of, I guess, dip your toe in the water, see if it's an area that you enjoy working in.
Yeah.
And if it's bringing in quite a lot of clientele for you, you might be well worth thinking about getting your registration as a provider.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes it's seen, more favourable to be a registered provider. It just brings that added element of trust and safety, maybe. But at the same time, as counsellors, we've got to abide by our own code of ethics anyway. So, which very much are similar to NDIS in just providing that safe space, that making sure that we're got all our boxes ticked as far as insurance, and we have supervisors and all of that kind of thing that help us, to do our job well. So we're really doing the same thing as a NDIS provider anyway. I guess just in the larger community, it may be a little bit more recognised if you are a registered provider. It may just bring in that bit more income, and anyway, who knows what the future holds. So
yes, there's certainly a lot of unknowns at the moment in terms of a lot of things, isn't there? And I know that the aged care sector in particular has been a very difficult area at the moment for families and for people in the aged care sector. And so I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to come out of COVID-19. There's already a lot of stuff in terms of mental health and the impact that's having on people around the country and around the world. So who knows?
Yeah, it's so important that we look after our most vulnerable in the community, ones that can't always speak for themselves, or they don't have access to things like we do. Or
All right. Well, look, thank you, Sonia, for joining me today. I really appreciate the time that you've given. If anyone's got a question, just pop it below the video in the group, and I'm sure Sonia will do her best when she's got the time to jump in and have a look and see if there's any questions there. If you've got any questions in general, like if there's something that's come out of this you're not sure about, I might be able to answer some of them, but then there's going to be areas that only Sonia can answer because I'm not going to have a clue.
And thanks for sending the memo, Penny, about the colour for today.
Oh, that's okay. You're welcome.
Really handy. Yes, I went out and got the colour especially for today. No, I'm only joking.
Our new uniform. I think it's nearly identical. Like the colour is just like identical. All right.
Definitely twinning.
We are. All right, everybody, have a great day. Have a great week. And, we will see you soon. Thank you, Sonia. And
bye, everyone. Thanks, Penny.